Bolt fam, take a breath because the vibe around Los Angeles today is different. There's a massive decision hanging over the face of the franchise, a big shakeup in the backfield, a physical war coming against a team that loves to bully opponents, and on top of that, a potential bombshell in the defensive meeting rooms. All of it happening at the exact moment the playoff race really tightens up. The question is this team truly ready to face all of this head on? You're not going to believe what we've got today, so get comfortable, hit that like button, and let's jump straight into it. We've got to start with the real weight of everything landing on Justin Herbert's shoulders. This isn't just a medical update. This is the franchise quarterback walking into Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles 1 week after surgery on his left hand. The same hand he taped up and covered with a glove to finish the game against the Raiders like nothing had happened. That image alone tells you a lot about the kind of guy leading this powder blue franchise. All week long he's been saying, "I'm gonna play." And honestly, Bolt fam, nobody doubts it. The odds makers don't either. The line opened with the Eagles favored by 1.5, swung all the way to Philly -3, and then came back down to Eagles -1.5 on the road. That's basically the market saying, Herbert is going to be out there. If he were a confirmed scratch, that number would have exploded in their favor by now. But here's the delicate part. Yeah, he's likely going to play. But in what condition? Herbert's sitting at 66.9% completions this season, just under 2,900 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 picks, playing at a star level despite injuries, protection issues, and inconsistent play calling. Against the Raiders, even banged up, he went 15 for 20 for 151 yards and 2 scores. But playing hurt against Las Vegas is one thing. Facing an aggressive Eagles defense in prime time is a completely different animal. If the protection breaks down, if the game plan doesn't respect where he is physically, the risk isn't just losing a game. It's putting the rest of the season on the line. The Chargers are 8-4, still right in the mix for the AFC West and playoff seeding, but they also need a few Denver Broncos losses to really open the door. This matchup with Philly is the kind of game that can swing playoff odds dramatically on a single result. That's why the key isn't just having Herbert suited up, it's having a plan that protects him. Quick game, a run game that actually works, smart third and long calls. If this turns into a wild shootout where he's holding the ball forever, that surgically repaired hand becomes a target. And while everyone keeps staring at the questionable tag on the injury report, the real question is this. Is this staff going to treat this game like a final, but also like an investment in the rest of the year? If they find that balance, this whole Herbert is questionable storyline might end up being the turning point of the season. If they blow it, we may look back and say, that was the night everything started to fall apart. And while everybody is locked in on the Herbert drama, there's a parallel storyline that could completely change the rhythm of this offense. Omarion Hampton's return. Bolt fam, remember when the vision was Najee Harris and Hampton as the perfect 1-2 punch for this Harbaugh ball identity? Then the football god stepped in. Harris tore his Achilles in week 3. Hampton went down with an ankle injury 2 weeks later, and suddenly the backfield turned into a live experiment. The twist? Out of that chaos, Kamani Vidal emerged. The same guy who was almost a roster cut before the season now has 543 rushing yards and has become absolutely crucial. And it doesn't stop there. While Hampton was on IR, Jarrett Patterson jumped into the rotation and delivered quality carries too. That backfield that was supposed to have a clearly defined script back in September ended up rewriting its entire identity. The result? Now, as Hampton finally comes back, he's walking into a room that looks completely different from the one he left. And honestly, maybe better than what we imagined at the start. The most symbolic piece this week was seeing him in a normal practice jersey instead of that yellow non-contact one. First full practice since week 5. That's not some small detail. That's a clear signal that he's ready to strap it up on Monday night. Matt Zenitz had already hinted at optimism, but yesterday it became obvious. Hampton wants to play, and the team wants him out there. When he was asked how badly he wants to be back, he didn't hesitate. I want to play bad. Just to be out there. Help my team out. Just be out there with the guys, really. Honest. Direct. That's fuel for a locker room that desperately needs a spark on offense. And here comes the exciting part. Hampton plus Vidal. Thunder and lightning. Power and burst. Two different styles that together can turn this offense into a time of possession machine, which is exactly what you want against an Eagles team that punishes tired defenses. OC Greg Roman has already made it clear, this is a true 1-2 punch. And that changes everything. Here's the strategic detail nobody really talks about. Vidal is coming off a stretch where he's had 23 or more carries in 3 of the last 5 games. That's awesome, but it's a lot of wear and tear. Getting Hampton back takes that load off the young back, makes him more efficient, and keeps him from hitting a wall in the fourth quarter, especially in tight games. And yeah, that also means more protection for Herbert. If the run game gets going, defenses can't just tee off with pressure. Play action opens up, and the number of clean hits on the quarterback drops. Then there's the matchup itself. The Bears used Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift to combine for 40 carries against this same Eagles defense by alternating drives. It worked because they kept the game close. If the Chargers avoid letting the score get out of hand, this new duo could be exactly the engine that drives the perfect game plan. And somehow, that's still not the most surprising thing happening around this team right now. If the offense already sets the stage with all of that, the Chargers' defense goes into this Monday night stepping into a puzzle that very few teams have solved. It's not an exaggeration to call this a true identity test. Playing the Philadelphia Eagles is already tough on its own. Playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who have basically weaponized the tush push and taken over the league with it, is a completely different level of challenge. And honestly, Bolt fam, we've rarely seen a single offensive concept shake the NFL like this one has. Before anyone shrugs it off as just a one-yard play, it's worth slowing down and understanding what it actually represents. The tush push changes drive dynamics, changes decision-making, even changes what a defense considers getting a stop. When the Eagles get to 3rd and 2 or 4th and 1, it almost feels inevitable, and that gets into the head of every defensive coordinator they face. Jesse Minter, our defensive coordinator, spent real time talking about it this week, and that wasn't by accident. He highlighted what a lot of people pretend not to see. Jalen Hurts is the engine of the whole thing. It's not just the massive physical offensive line, it's the quarterback's ridiculous lower body strength, how hard he is to stop, how easily he can push a pile of bodies like he's dragging sleds in the offseason. That's why other teams try to copy it and fail. The mechanics are unique, the body type is unique, the timing is perfect. So how do you stop something that looks almost unstoppable? Minter's answer was honest. You need absolute discipline, instant reads, perfect leverage. The margin for error is 0. You can't line up thinking, maybe. The defense has to throw its full weight and willpower into every single inch of that play. Combine that with how physical the rest of their offense is, and Monday night starts to feel like a test of pure endurance. But here's the part most people miss. Limiting the tush push isn't just about stopping the play itself. It's about stopping the situations that lead to it. It's about winning on 1st and 2nd down. It's about breaking the engine before it ever gets to that final gear. If the pass rush heats up, if the coverage forces mistakes, if the offense controls the clock, then Philly doesn't get all those short yardage chances where the tush push comes out. And while the staff is trying to decode this puzzle, there's something even more dramatic hanging over the defense's future. While the entire focus around this matchup is on that tactical war with the Eagles, there's a shadow hanging over the long-term future of this Chargers defense, and it's one you just can't ignore. It might end up defining everything that happens in the offseason. We're talking about the very real possibility that Khalil Mack thinks about retirement again when this year's over. Yeah, Bolt fam. The same conversation that popped up last offseason is back on the table. And this time, the context is even more fragile. Mack came back this year with one clear goal: chase a Lombardi. He took a short deal, bought into the rebuild, believed this roster had enough gas in the tank to make a real playoff run. But the reality is, the season hasn't exactly cooperated. The offensive line struggled, injuries piled up, the adjustments took longer than expected. For a veteran who's already made it clear he only wants to play if it's at a high level, and for something real, that weighs a lot. Before we even get to what comes next, it's important to appreciate where he still is right now. Even with just 8 games played, Mack is still producing at a high level. 4.5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, 4 tackles for loss. Those aren't empty stats. Those are real, on-field impact plays. That's the kind of presence and leadership that changes how the entire defense behaves. And that's why just the idea of losing him makes so many people uneasy. At the same time, there's a bright light in this picture. Tuli Tuipulotu. If Mack is the foundation of experience, Tuipulotu is the future shining right in front of us. 10 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, 16 tackles for loss, playing at an all-pro caliber level. He's not just a promise anymore, he's a cornerstone. The problem is that outside of him, the depth drops off quickly. Odafe Oweh has been a valuable rotational rusher, but he's heading into free agency. Bud Dupree and Kyle Kennard have barely made a dent. And that's where the real concern kicks in for the hardcore fans. The edge market isn't exactly inspiring. Sure, there are names out there, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Hassan Reddick, but every one of them comes with their own mix of age, cost, scheme fit, and health questions. The Chargers will have cap space to work with, but they also have a massive rebuild to handle on the offensive line. Those resources won't stretch forever. So what do? You plan as if Mack might stay, but you prepare as if he might walk away. You build out contingencies. You study Oweh's ceiling. You evaluate possible trades. You look at veteran options whose contracts you can get out of if it doesn't work. And above all, you accept that a huge part of the defensive identity built over the last few years depends on having that dominant edge player setting the tone off the edge. If that piece changes, the entire scheme shifts with it. And as crazy as it sounds, that might end up being the biggest decision of the next few months. Bigger than people realize right now while everyone is staring at the last part of the regular season schedule. Bolt fam, after a day packed with uncertainty, comebacks, tactical threats, and big questions about the future, it's obvious this team is living through one of those chapters that define an entire season. Herbert pushing through his own body, Hampton and Vidal ready to change the tempo of the offense, a defense grinding to solve the toughest riddle in the NFL, and the possible retirement of a leader who helped shape our recent identity. All of that happening at once, with SoFi Stadium feeling like a pressure cooker ready to explode. The real question is, are we about to witness the turning point or the final warning sign? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's keep this Bolt fam louder than ever.